What's up, everybody? This is Damron with Trash Ass Gamers, bringing you another Elder Scrolls Online Veteran Dungeon Guide. This is for Bloodroot Forge. This is part of the Horns of the Reach DLC, and the dungeon can be found in Craglorn. So for these videos, if you haven't seen any before, we'll try to fast forward through the ads, but I will keep these videos complete so you know where I am and how I got there. And we'll basically focus on any mechanics of the dungeon, specifically with the particular bosses in each section. And then, of course, if anything within the dungeon that is interesting or that I feel like I need to point out to help you guys out. So let's blast through the first set of ads here, and we'll meet up at the first boss.
Who's safe from his reach next? Only talk to Squall shortly. We will go there.
So the first boss, Mathgamane. This is essentially a large bear-like enemy that doesn't really cause too much damage unless the tank loses aggro and does that large kind of heavy attack that it does. If that hits you as a DPS, it can kill you. But overall, this is probably the easiest boss in the dungeon. She'll spawn some little doggies in to help her, the Nurn-blooded Gore, but they're not really going to do too much damage. Just keep your AoEs down, keep your burst damage on the boss, and you'll drop him pretty easily. Now, if it takes you a little bit longer, some stranglers will spawn in that can create some pools of poison AoE, which you see there in the back. And those can do a significant amount of damage if you don't take out the stranglers. So that's a mechanic that'll be very important in the first main boss that we're going to come to here in a minute. Pretty much anytime you see a strangler up in the outside portion of this dungeon, that really is going to be your priority as the DPS. Okay, so here we go. Kalaloith, she is not too bad if you kind of understand what's going on. She'll do a few attacks that you need to avoid. One would really going to be aimed at the tank if he has aggro, and that's what you see there. It's like a conical earth kind of shaking attack that moves forward. Now that will knock you down if it hits you, but it doesn't really do too much damage. And then the other attack that she does is this ice attack that goes on the ground, which you saw kind of go past me on the right there. That, if it hits you, can really do a lot of damage, so you really want to avoid that if you're a low health character. Now, every about 25 to 30% health, she will create this nature's preservation barrier around her, and you cannot cross that once you're on the outside. It'll knock you back. And when she does spawn that, you'll see that she spawns basically one of those bears that we just fought a little bit ago, and 3 Gwars with it. And your goal is to really get those killed prior to her dropping the nature's preservation for the next phase. And then in the second phase, she's going to start spawning some stranglers again. As I said earlier, these are going to be your main priority. You really don't want them to start covering the area with those poison AoEs, because they can really cause a lot of damage if you're standing in them. So you've got to take those stranglers down as fast as possible. Tank, make sure you pull the aggro on the large bear, and because the heavy attack from that will definitely kill the other players in one hit. So as long as you do that, you basically rinse and repeat these phases. Again, she will do that 3 times. So we've done it twice. She'll do it one more time, and the amount of time that she spends inside her nature's preservation will actually decrease per the time that she does it. So you have less time to get those ads off the board before she comes back out firing attacks. So that's basically it. So we'll finish her off, and we'll crush some more ads, and I'll see you at the next boss. will point out, as you see me kind of jumping over some lava here, that there is an achievement in this particular dungeon that a lot of people really struggle with, and that's called cooling your heels. Cooling your heels requires you to beat this entire dungeon without stepping into the lava, which you see that I just did there. I stepped into the lava. I will try to make a separate video showing you guys the best places to jump for that, because I know a lot of people are having trouble unlocking that, and it can be a little bit tricky. And mainly people are going to have their failures on one of the bosses, which we'll talk about up here, but I'll cover that achievement in a later video. For this one, we'll particularly just focus on the boss strategies. So let's get moving. Now you do see us pull these fire shocks back here. That's because if you run up to where they are, there isn't a lava pool that you can dissipate their firebolt attack on you. So if they lock onto you from up there, you probably won't be able to make it to a lava section to avoid that attack they do. Alright, so coming up on the next boss, there's a couple things that you need to be aware of this boss so that you don't get in trouble. And you're going to see all these Atronachs kind of scattered throughout the level. So those what we're going to focus on, because Stoneheart will actually revive them as the fight goes on, and you'll see this kind of red lights going to one of the stone Atronachs as you saw there, and that's your cue to go take out that Atronach. Whenever that happens, DPS, that's your main priority. Take down that Atronach, because honestly, this boss, Stoneheart himself, he's not going to kill you. What's going to wipe your group is if you have a couple stone Atros up and they start doing their attacks, because it takes them a decent amount of time before they start throwing their attacks out, which are these spikes that kind of come out of the ground. If they start attacking you with that, they can really hurt you very, very fast and really wipe your entire group. So when those Atros spawn, you got to get there and take them out ASAP, and then we can get back to the boss. Another mechanic that he does, you can see the fire attack that he shoots out from his feet. There's no directionality, there's no rhyme or reason to that. It just goes in all directions. So you really just got to kind of pay attention to your AoE indicator and try to avoid that. As long as you're not walking in the same direction, standing in those, it probably won't kill you and you can heal through it. Now when you get near to the end of his health, he's going to wake up all the Atronachs, and that's your cue to execute him. Do not try to go kill the Atronachs at that point. So you'll see he's at 24%. As soon as we hit about 20, he's going to launch those red life forces to every Atro on the map. But we are not going to go to them. We're just going to stay here and we're going to execute him and finish it off. Don't make the mistake of thinking you can go kill those Atros and come back. Just finish him and move on. Alright, so we're coming up on the next boss. This boss gives a lot of people a lot of troubles, but I'm going to explain this in a way that can make this a very easy fight for you. So first off, we need to notice that we're on an island, and around the island are basically rocks in the lava. Those are going to be important later. So Gokobar will do an attack where he basically creates an AoE on the entire island, and if you stay on the island when he does that attack, it's a guaranteed death. So when he does that, you need to jump over to the rocks, as you saw right here. Another reason you need to go to the rocks are the fire shocks. If you get targeted by a fire shock, you need to run to one of those rocks, and then you'll see the flame that is following you from the fire shock will dissipate when it hits the lava. Now if that flame hits you, unless you're the tank getting healed through it, it will kill you. Now, a way to make this fight much easier is this. Adds are priority. Always kill the adds. Kill the fire shocks and kill the stone atronachs as fast as possible. Always take them down. What's going to get you into trouble is if you have a lot of adds on the board and you're trying to avoid that, and all you're trying to do is damage the boss, because they spawn on a timer. So not on a timer necessarily, more or so with the percentage of his health. So at certain percentages the fire shock spawn, and that's until the end. At the end he really starts spawning in everything. Another thing that you need to take note of is the volcano that he spawns on the ground. The tank has got to stand in that and absorb that damage. If not, it launches fireballs at everybody else, and the damage from that will likely kill you. Now, if you're in a situation where the tank is down or not inside that volcano, you really have to roll dodge those attacks. So that's the main thing about the fight. Focus on the adds, get on the rocks when you need to. You're going to see a fire shock attack dissipate there. And again, when he does his AoE on the middle island, we're on the rock. Now when he gets around 25%, he's going to spawn both Atros in, and that's your cue to not focus on the adds anymore and to just try and execute him. Because now you're kind of in this infinite spawn phase. As soon as you kill an Atro, he'll respawn it. So just execute him and finish this guy off. And that's kind of a way to make this fight a lot easier than probably what you're used to. Focus on those adds, and you're going to have a much easier time. Alright, so we're on the little tri-boss prior to the final boss, and a good strategy for this is to have your 2 DPS and your healer go over to the Attendant of Flame and take him down, while the tank holds on to the other Attendant of Blood and the main boss himself. So basically the reason we're going to keep 3 over here is because when he does his chain attack, in which he kind of bends down and puts 2 players into the chains, the third person can bash him to free them. If you do not bash and free, which happened right there, the 2 people that got chained will die instantly. And the other 2 guys over here don't really do any attacks that you really, need to worry about. So once you finish the Attendant of Flame off over there, we can come over here, take out the Attendant of Blood, and then we'll focus on the main guy himself. So that's pretty much it for this fight. One of them does do a chain attack, it'll pull you in, but again, it's not really anything you need to worry about. And the main guy, Garrick, will actually do a little AoE, and it'll knock you down if you're in it, but honestly it won't kill you. It doesn't really do that much damage. So once you get the Attendant of Flame down, the fight is super easy with this method. Okay, so we're on. Let's go ahead and read our scroll and get into hard mode. This guy's got a monstrosity worth of health, 9.8 million. So we're going to talk about the difference in hard mode briefly. So normal mode, you can use the Fountain of Blood and the Fountain of Flame over there to the left and to the right to dissipate the lava pools that this boss will spawn into the map periodically during the fight. But in hard mode, those are not available to you. You cannot get rid of the flames or the lava pools that he spawns into the map, which he does when he shoots his arm into the ground and creates this little lava pool. Now if you get close to that lava pool, it'll shoot flames at you and do damage, and then obviously if you touch that lava pool, you're likely going to die, as well as voiding your cooling the heals achievement. So let's stay away from that lava. The best place to hold these guys on hard mode is right in the middle and hope that they shoot those lava pools all the way to the edges of the map. The other thing that we could have normally stopped in normal mode, but we can't stop here, is the ground and pound, them having chunks of stone fall from the ceiling. Now if those hit you, they will knock you down, and you'll likely get hit by a couple more and possibly die. So stay out of those AoEs, and then just keep your hammer down. Now everybody wants to keep their ultimate for the third earth core that spawns. When the little guy spawns, everyone should try to drop their AoEs and kill him as soon as possible. The only time you don't want to do that is when they're in the stomping phase, because they actually have a slight shield whenever they're doing this. Now tank has the hardest job in this fight because their attacks do a lot of damage. Their heavy attacks can really put a lot of strain on him. That's why it's very important to get the little third guy down as soon as possible. But as you can see, we're staying in the middle of the map, and it's really the best place to stay. It's really a DPS race in the sense that we want to keep that lava as minimal as possible because we can't get rid of it. And then we're just going to keep damaging him. Now we're down to the final guy, and we'll finish him off, and that's really the mechanics of this fight. So we'll talk about the monster set at the end. So pretty cool dungeon. It's one of my favorite dungeons in the game. Not just DLC and base, but of the entire game. I really love that dungeon. The mechanics are very fun. It's not the easiest dungeon. So the monster set that comes out there is a very OP set, the Earth Gore set. It gives you 2% healing done, and when you heal a friendly target that's under 50% health, you can create a pool underneath them that instantly heals all friendly targets in the area for 28,950 health. Great helmet, really great helmet for healers. So if this video helped you out, feel free to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.